Welcome back, everyone, to 2 Hours on a Sunday. I'm Nick.
And I'm Brian, and today we have the family back in town.
Hello.
We got Ian and Jesse representing us as the guests for today's podcast.
Hi, guys.
What's going on, guys?
Good.
How's it going, boys?
Today we are talking about the video games that made us who we are today, and the games that brought us together in our relationships, and the games that really kicked our love of games off in the first place. So to start this podcast off, we're going to talk about the games that really bonded us together growing up. And Nick, to start, I would say there's really only one franchise that has kept the blood pumping for years, and that is Pokemon.
I was going to make a joke and say, Dance...
Your brain doesn't think that fast.
Dance Revolution.
Dance Revolution?
Not that one. No.
I played that a lot.
You did. Especially the Mario one.
Oh, I crushed the Mario one. But yeah, I would say Pokemon is what really kept our relationship moving every time a new game came out.
Absolutely.
Whether it be my parents or your mom taking us to, Walmart to pick it up on Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, DS, 3DS. We really got all the handhelds just to play Pokemon.
Pretty much. I think that's exclusively why I played video games, was to have a handheld to play Pokemon. Which ones did we really start with? Did we start with Red and Blue, or did we start with Gold and Silver and then make our way backwards?
I started with Yellow and I played Red a lot, but I think what we really got into was Silver, and you had Crystal.
Yes.
And then from there, it just accelerated to every time a game came out we were playing.
Yeah, I remember starting with Yellow first and then working backwards. And yeah, you're right. I think us wanting to play together started with Gold and Silver and Crystal, which I believe are the best.
Right, and I think the game that bonds us all together and is really the reason why I kept buying Nintendo systems is Super Smash Brothers.
Definitely.
We all have our separate little, what we played, but I think Super Smash Brothers is what most people can say is the game that kept everybody playing Nintendo growing up as a group of people, right? Coming together, either playing with your friends, hosting tournaments, or staying up till whenever. Like Jesse, I remember when Brawl first came out. It was my birthday, March 8th, and my parents took us to Walmart. It was 11 o'clock at night, and they had a midnight release. And we went to get Super Smash Bros. Brawl for the Wii. And we played that game till 2 a.m. in the morning, and then played it again when we woke up. And we were in love with that adventure mode.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember coming over later that weekend, and you guys had already beat the whole adventure mode. And I'm like, the game came out.
We unlocked everybody.
One day ago, and you already did all this.
It sounds about right. I can't remember that night specifically, but there's a lot of memories of the Smash, whether it's the old N64, whether it's Melee, or whether it's Brawl. I do think Brawl was the best one. I do remember that adventure mode. That was fun.
I feel like the constant joke for you is that you are, anytime you're I'm always hitting the wrong way. You always attack. It's no, I'm attacking the wrong way. I got to turn around.
I would lose myself half the time. I'm like, who am I? Where am I?
That's why I just would always pick one or two of the same characters, and then you could never get lost. You got to be that Kool-Aid Kirby. Blue, Kirby, you know which one you are. Yeah.
Pick the brightest color and you'll never lose your spot.
Like Captain Falcon, you always went with the pink outfit because you got to be able to find yourself.
My memory with Smash Brothers with you, Brian, is nachos and cheese all the time.
Yeah.
I think having nacho coma and playing Smash Brothers until we fell asleep on the controllers. Inevitably, I was always the worst Smash Brothers player. So I just remember getting my butt handed to me pretty much every single round. But it was still such a fun game. Even though you don't win, it doesn't matter. It's just smashing the buttons. It's so good.
I was in the same camp as you, Nick. I was the worst player of the group. So if we were playing versus, I would just get destroyed. So they would humor me, and we would team up against a bunch of level 9s or something. Because they had to carry me, and it was basically a PvE because we couldn't do PvP.
Exactly. You didn't look at the stats because it's Brian and Jesse with 10 kills each, and then you or I would be one maybe.
That is not how I remember it.
No, I went to you for competition all the time.
I thought I was the lowest. I thought I was at the bottom. I thought I was so bad. There's no way.
Well, I mean, you
Oh my
also were
goodness.
you were a little bit younger, so that age gap. But skill wise, I remember being like, I couldn't keep up with you guys.
I thought it was Brian and Ian. I thought it was Brian and Ian. That was it.
Oh, well, I'm glad you think that, but as far as I
Yeah.
remember, yeah.
Now that tournament we had, when was that? It was a couple years ago.
Yeah, we were, I think it was 2016.
Yeah.
It was right after the Wii U version came out.
That's right. And I remember the final round was Brian and Jesse.
Jesse, yeah.
And it was like watching a stalemate.
Well, yeah, I think didn't you guys eventually have to stop using your mains because you were too good with them?
Yes.
I remember in that tournament, I think the only reason I got to the final was because I got lucky in some match along the way. It was like, I don't know, maybe one or two away from the final. Brian destroyed everyone. But I remember one or two.
He took his half of the thing and just zipped right up.
Yeah. There's one or two matches where it was like tough for me. So I don't. There's the only reason I made it. But I remember I used Little Mac for a lot of that tournament.
Yeah.
A lot of that tournament.
Because I'm not going to lie to you guys, I trained for like 3 weeks leading up because I didn't want to host the
Yeah,
tournament
we
and not
knew
be
that.
good.
That's not a surprise.
Yeah.
And then the following year, I held it again as the reigning champ because I went all out. I had like a whole scoreboard. Remember, guys? I had like tiers. I had the whole bracket system built out. And then the next year, I invited like more of my classmates from school, and one kid brought his own controller.
Yeah, that's when we knew he
And I
was
think
serious.
as soon as he walked in, I was like,
You're done for.
and I lost him. I couldn't beat him.
Yeah.
No.
And I was like, okay, I'm done. I can't win.
Oh,
He
when-
played Bowser Jr. and it was over.
When somebody walks in with their own controller, it's game over.
Yeah, buttons are mapped like
Bowser Jr. Oh no, who knows what
Yeah.
that's gonna be like. None of us played Bowser Jr. ever. I don't think.
no.
You don't know how
Me
to
and Jesse
counter that.
Jesse and I were in the semifinals of that, going head to head, and then it was like the final match. It was so tense. And then I go to the finals against this kid, and it's a swipe. I can't do nothing. I tried like 7 characters. He's like, oh yeah, you can try whoever. I'm like, oh thanks.
Yeah, I think I remember you using like Cloud and yeah.
Yeah. I used Cloud, I used Kirby, I used everybody.
You pulled out all the stops.
Sheik, yeah, I tried everything. I tried Roy at one point.
Yeah, if you can't do it with
nothing.
Sheik, then it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, because that's who I won the tournament with the year before.
Yep.
But going back in time a little bit, Jesse, there were so many games you and I played together. Anytime there was a release, we had the 3 Ninja Turtle games. We had the first one, we had Battle Nexus, Mutant Mayhem, and then we conquered those. And then I feel like we had X-Men Legends. We played that constantly. And then the same with Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Those games were killer. Do you remember any of that?
Well, number one, my memory is actually really horrible. But what I do remember and what will stay with me is going over to Ian's house, and we were playing, either X-Men 1 or X-Men 2, and our save data got deleted.
I think that's why I remember seeing you guys restarting it.
Or you know what it was?
Yeah.
You know what it was? It was like a glitch in the game. Like it was like something was like supposed to happen, and it was like a cutscene or something, and it just wasn't happening.
You couldn't progress because it didn't trigger.
Something was not happening, and we just couldn't go. So then we had all of our stats built up, all of like everything. We had everything perfect, and then it was like it took us so far to get to that point. So then we were like, okay, well, we're done playing this now.
That's it.
Like this is it.
Yeah.
So sad.
And I feel like that's when we transitioned to Ultimate Alliance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that was our kind of late grade school kind of vibe. But when we got to high school, the game I feel like is still one of the best games ever made is Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah, it's hard to touch that.
I feel like everybody in this chat has played Modern Warfare 2.
A lot.
You and I, Jesse, that co-op mode was one of the greatest things I think ever invented.
Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, those small co-op missions.
There was one where we were in the forest and we were in like a cabin and we had to go through layers of people, but then the Juggernauts, and we always went in that one room, like we let them through the stairs, right? We let them through the stairs. We throw grenades, and we'd corner ourselves into one room, and we would just unload a whole clip on these guys, and it was the most stressful time of our life. And then there was the one map where we had to face 20 Juggernauts. Like we went through that, and we were like, oh. We played so much co-op.
Yeah, the whole thing was Juggernauts. I remember that one. Yeah.
That just unlocked the biggest core memory. Wow, I forgot about that. Because I played that with my brother pretty much every day after school. We'd get home, we'd do whatever, and then we'd have dinner, and then it'd be dark, and then we'd go downstairs and we would play the co-op. We'd also do like the zombie campaign, which was always terrifying to us, and we never got really any better at it. But
nope, doesn't matter how many times you played it.
Yeah, it's like level 17. Like that's as far as we could get ever. Man, the Juggernauts. I totally forgot about those until now. Whoa.
Because I feel like the co-op was me and Jesse, but then zombies was like, that's when me and you, Ian, and like Jesse was obviously part of that too. But like zombies was our thing together, and then co-op was Jesse and I. But then like obviously the whole online
first wave
aspect.
of zombies like 100,000 times.
Yeah, and that same room.
Never got that much further than that, but
no, you get up to that second roof or that second level, and you're like, well, we got nothing. Now, Ian, I believe, tell me if I'm wrong, but Jesse, Ian's the sole reason we both got Xbox 360s, correct?
100%. And I hate you to this day.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Ian is the one who got us, I feel like, into Halo.
Halo.
That's also when we were done playing COD. Halo was the game we played with Ian.
That was my go-to. Yep. That was the one, and I made everyone play it, whether they wanted to or not. I find out later that half of my friends I made play, they're like, yeah, I never really liked Halo that much. Yeah. But well, that's okay. We're playing it anyway.
I was so bad at it. Jesse was way better at it than I was.
It's just that classic thing to me that it goes back to like even like the GoldenEye sort of thing. Like you just get that once you get in that competitive zone. And then you just keep going, and then it's just like you're into it, but also like you're just hanging out, chilling with buddies. But then also you're really into it, and you really want to beat them. So you just do that one more match.
That is so interesting because for me, I was never into the competitiveness of a video game before. I think the most I had was like playing Smash Brothers with Brian. But I think, Brian, when you got your Xbox 360, that's probably around the time that I got mine because I'm like, oh, that looks kind of fun. I never really got into Halo though growing up. I see the appeal. I totally get it now, but it just was never my thing. I liked the bubbliness of Nintendo games minus the competitiveness.
But I feel like Nick, you and I played a lot of Modern Warfare 2 online together. But I feel like playing so much Call of Duty when transitioning to Halo, it was so difficult for me to get the grasp of how to play Halo.
One of the reasons I liked it was because it was so different.
Yeah,
I actually could stand a chance against people because I didn't have those the instincts where you see somebody and immediately I could like, oh crap, they're already shooting me. Well, what can I do? Like,
yeah. So I feel like Halo. Ian, you're the only reason why I played Halo. But then Jesse, there was a game that came out. I feel like that changed my outlook on Halo. And we played all the time, constantly. And Ian didn't like this as much because he preferred the regular Halo, but Halo Wars.
Really? That was the one that did it for you?
Well, because I wasn't into Halo a lot, but like because I loved that style of like building armies and like settings because it's easy for me. I wasn't good at shooting, you know. And then we played that Halo Wars all the time, you and I together. We would just constantly, and then Ian would hop on.
Yeah, I actually thought you were going to say ODST.
That's what I was thinking.
Too.
That was the one. ODST was the one that
came with the Xbox.
I think, yeah, because you got that firefight going on.
Right. Okay, now it's bringing back some memories.
I was like, Halo Wars.
But Halo Wars I was better at because I wasn't great at Halo. I was better at Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But Nick, it's like Halo Wars is like, remember in grade 8,
we played Command and Conquer,
with both classes. He set up for the final 2 weeks of school.
I felt like that was definitely a lot of fun when I think you and I rented Halo Wars one time. You brought it to my house, and I'm like, man, I don't get it. But you were so into it. And I think from then on, you were like, yeah, Halo Wars.
Because when Jesse couldn't play, I was like, I need someone else to go online with, right? Jesse, do you remember back in the day? I can't remember what game it was. I think it was a Halo game But there was a post on Facebook like years ago. It was between you and Frankie, and you were like trying
Halo
to
Reach.
Halo Reach, and you were trying to get a copy of Halo Reach.
No, I can't remember that.
It was
no.
just some
Was I
random-
just telling him that I wanted it?
Yeah,
It was like you were setting up like some sort of black market deal.
yeah.
It,
And you were
it
meeting up
was
with
like
me and Frankie.
you and me at this parking lot, 2 p.m.
Halo
You
Reach.
bring your copy of Halo Reach.
Yeah,
Did I buy it off of him?
that was like early. I think you were like maybe 13. You did.
I think you did.
Yeah, you were like
Go
13,
me.
14. I think you were like either grade 8 or grade 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still have it's on
Baller.
Facebook. Every year it comes up. It's like your thing is like this time, you, me, Frankie, Halo Reach.
Not exactly a clandestine operation.
That reminds me, Brian, of when we got Pokemon Conquest.
Yeah,
You were.
I still have that one.
I do too. You were into that game. I think you beat it. And
Do you know why I was into that game, Nick?
why?
Okay, so this goes back to the games me and Jesse used to play for PlayStation 2. The Warriors games. Samurai Warriors.
Yes.
Yep.
Do you remember that, Jesse? We crushed those games.
Yep.
Samurai Warriors 2 or whatever. But yeah, it was like that because those characters, they meshed with the characters from Samurai Warriors. But we were constantly playing Samurai Warriors. I just totally remember that was one of the massive games we played for like months.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, this is hard. I think I beat like 3 or 4 levels. I was like, I don't get it. I'm not good at this at all. Strategy games
I beat
are
it so fast.
strategy games are not my strong suit at all.
I think what appealed to Jesse and I about Samurai Warriors, like all the characters were very unique and like the move sets, but like you're just taking out absolutely everybody. It's all about like you're just going in and wrecking shop and taking over massive. You're breaking into colonies and you're defeating bosses and like just wiping out hundreds of people with just combos.
Right.
And it was the most addicting thing ever back in, what was it, like 2006?
I think so. Yep.
As far as, like a video game design and aesthetic and everything, I usually don't like, say for when you're younger and you're playing a game where the sword's being swung and you can see the air being drawn after the sword, you know what I mean? Aside from
Like that, like over exaggerated visual.
those over exaggerated visuals. Aside from that, I think Samurai Warriors and Kingdom Hearts had this too. They had that, after when you're swiping as well. But
Right.
Kingdom Hearts gets away with it because it's a Disney aesthetic as well. So that kind of flows for me. The older I've gotten, the more into realistic imaging and aesthetics I've been into. So if it's coming across the screen like a cartoon or something, I'm just like, what are we doing? Why are we here? But Samurai Warriors, it fits into that like anime style, So I think today, any of us could pick it up and we'd be like, oh, this is so cool, just because it works.
And I remember I was never good at Kingdom Hearts. I played 3 when it came out, but I was really only drawn to Kingdom Hearts because you would bring it over, or I would watch you play it at your house and you would defeat Sephiroth, and it was the craziest thing ever because it was the most difficult boss and you were just hitting combos and you're like trying to survive for your life.
Sephiroth.
Probably brings back memories.
Trauma.
Bad memories.
It's trauma, actually.
Drama.
The tears are welling up. He's trying his best.
I don't ever remember actually beating him. Like, I think it would have been Kingdom Hearts 2 that you would have played him. I don't think he was in the first game. Yeah, and the worst part about it is he's not even, like, essential to the story. Like, he's not a boss you need to beat. Like, he's just someone on the side who is just low-key like, screw you, I'm an optional boss that you'll never beat. And you're just like, okay. And you could go on and say that you beat the game, but you didn't,
But you didn't.
You didn't beat Sephiroth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You
Like
did
the
beat
Valkyries
Sephiroth.
in God of War.
Mhm. Yeah. Maybe I did at the very, very end.
I think you did beat him. I think it was like it took you like 100 tries.
100%.
I think it was like the most glorious throw the controller. I'm done playing this game for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Now, Ian, another game I feel like post Halo that we all kind of played together that made me want to get it was Guitar Hero.
Oh yeah, I was
And
so
because
into
you
Guitar
were
Hero.
so good at it,
Yeah.
not just because you played the guitar, but I was like, man, he shreds on Guitar Hero. And I was like, I got to play Guitar Hero. And that's when World Tour came out for the Wii, and I had the drum set and everything. I feel like Guitar Hero was like a massive, like 3-4 year phenomenon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was just all the time. And it made us think that we were so cool.
Jesse, you played Guitar Hero at Ian's house, right?
I played Guitar Hero. I played those Dance Dance Revolution ones. Those, not really, those faux real skill games, where you're a dancer, where you're a guitar player, where you're a drummer.
You feel like you're doing something real, but
Yeah. I feel like those died really hard, though. Like, nobody does that anymore.
They did.
Like, that died really hard.
No, it just fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
Because I remember Dance Dance Revolution was a huge part of like my early high school, like grade 8, grade 7, grade 8, grade 9. Because Justin Abello, next door, he had Dance Dance Revolution Extreme 2. And he had the thick hardcore mat. And like we were over there, if we weren't playing Smash Brothers Brawl, we were playing Dance Dance Revolution. And it was sweating up a storm. We were crushing it. We would play for hours. It was absurd. Like, I don't even know when we did homework. I'm going to be honest with you guys. We were playing Brawl, Dance Dance Revolution, playing Call of Duty. When did we even do homework?
I think that's why we failed that one math test, Brian.
Oh, that was hilarious, dude.
It still haunts him to this day.
In grade 5, the fraction one?
Oh, 1 out of what, 20-something?
You can pinpoint.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
I hated fractions.
that was bad.
But yeah, even now, like, there's games... Obviously, as we've gotten older, we are drawn to the games that we played when we were younger, that they still interest us. But I feel like, Jesse, the one game that I feel like stood out to you recently was Red Dead Redemption 2. No game will ever compete with that, I feel like, in your eyes, even going forward.
Look at him.
It's tough. It's tough.
His heart's speeding up as we speak.
It's tough. So there would definitely be games that I look at. Number one, I think games now are on a real decline, just in terms of the kind of quality of what's being put out, the type of effort. I mean, if you think about Anthem and the absolute hype that everybody had for that, because when you think about the different aspects of that game, I think it had pretty much everything that, a real gamer was looking for. It's like a Iron Man type.
You have all of the pieces you want.
Yeah. And then, it doesn't work. What are we talking about?
Just don't put any of them together.
What are we talking about? Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't load. What are we talking about? What's going on? There's just the effort that hasn't been put into games being put out lately it's heartbreaking, honestly, because you're a kid growing up with all of these games in your memory bank, and you go through life, and on your spare time you see something that you like, and it's like that childhood nostalgia that you can't access because all of these companies, there's just no effort. So that's why I look at Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'm just like, how beautiful looking is that game?
You can just feel the detail that was put into every single aspect that you might not ever even see.
It's the stranger interactions where, you can have chance encounters, and there's built-in dialogue. There's, for whatever action you choose, it's like, that's detail. That's effort. That's where it was like, that's the only game probably in the last 15 years, maybe, that I've ever went, oh, I'm going to restart it from the beginning and play it again because I want to make some different choices and I want to see what might happen. It's the effort. Like, there might be better looking games. There might be better concepts. Like, I think The Last of Us is a great series. I think God of War is a great series. For me, that's just the first game in a while where it was like, boom, real effort, and that's why I hate Ian so much, because I don't have a PS4 and I can't access those amazing games that have a lot of effort in them, and I'm gonna hate you forever.
Well, you do have access to your bank account, so I mean, you could always trade that in.
Yeah.
Red Dead is on Xbox, so I can't take all of the blame for everything. But yeah, okay, I'll shoulder that. I can bear the weight of the world here, Atlas.
And I feel like for me, I had an Xbox 360 forever, and then I had every single Nintendo system just to play Smash Brothers. But I got a PS4 for the sole reason to play the Spider-Man PS4 game.
Mm-hmm.
And every time there was a Spider-Man game, we're going to talk about this later with our, the 3 games that really kicked us off. But that was the only reason I got a PS4 was to play that Spider-Man game. And I feel like the game that blew me away that I didn't expect at all was that God of War for PS4. That was literally a perfect game to me. And when I was finished, I was like, that was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had playing a game. I remember Jesse coming over. We were trying to beat the Valkyries after because you could play New Game Plus, and I beat it again with all my XP. And there's a bunch of stuff, and then the whole part where you get the Blades of Chaos. I was losing my mind, and I didn't even play the other God of War games.
That was my thoughts. This is the craziest thing is that not only did I not ever play them, I actively disliked the older games.
Yeah.
And somehow that part still hits that hard because it was so well done.
Because like you go through the game with the axe and like this is the coolest weapon ever because you're like Thor. But then all of a sudden you get to the midway point of the game and he has to become Kratos again and he pulls the Chaos Blades out from underneath his house and you strap those things on and then they send you into like the outside of your house and you have to destroy everything. You're like, oh my god, what is happening? And it's the most like crazy thing ever. And then you go the rest of the game with 2 weapons and you're just like, no one can stop me.
Brian, what made you get that game to begin with? Because
it just looks awesome.
Okay, yeah.
Purely the throw in the axe.
Yeah, I love the style of game, like that third person. It's not like nowadays, like back in the day. I love like over the top stuff like X-Men Legends and stuff. But I love like the Spider-Man stuff where it's all third person and you're like a solo experience, like single player game,
over the shoulder solo experience.
Yeah, kind of thing. But
action
like,
adventure third person. Yeah.
But like everything about that game when they showed gameplay, I was like, this is a must play. Like I'm getting PS4 for Spider-Man, but Spider-Man is a year away still. And God of War just came out. I'm like, I have to play this, even though I don't know anything about God of War. But the second I started, I just couldn't put it down for days. When Jesse came over to play it, it's like I don't know if you ever played it fully, right, Jesse? I think you just played it at my house.
I never let him get a PlayStation, so.
Yeah, I played it at your house. I played it at some friends' houses. Yeah, no, I mean, games like that, that's where those exclusives really hurt. And they're smart to keep them as exclusives on that system. Same thing. It's the detail where you're like, I can do so much, and the storytelling is great. It's written great. It's animated great. The people behind it did you put real effort in.
Now another exclusive, I'm just gonna guess that hurt you was when you saw the gameplay for Final Fantasy VII Remake.
I did hear that was coming out on both consoles, but then I think they took it away.
It was like going to be a super long delay, like for an exclusive, and then I think, yeah, you're right. It just disappeared.
Yeah, I was looking out for that, but I mean, with the general kind of video game apathy that I've developed, just because of there's few and far ones that are really, really great. It's easier to get over it.
Because I feel like I only got Kingdom Hearts 3 because of you. And I played it so I could tell you what happened, right? But then you eventually watched gameplay, but I feel like I didn't play the first 2 because I watched you play them. So I felt like because I had the system, I had to play it for you.
Almost like a duty.
I had a duty to complete the third game because you would talk about it forever. Like after this, you beat the second game, we're like, oh my god, Kingdom Hearts 3, it's coming. Because there'd be rumors every other year. It's like, oh my god, it's getting a release date. Okay, 20 years later.
It was painful. It was a painful wait. But I mean, that story, one of the bad things about it, and there aren't too many, but one of the bad things is that it's a very complicated story. And there's so many tie-in games. There's like 2.5, Kingdom Hearts Unchained, whatever, and like all of them have little different narratives. Some of them were for like Nintendo DS. Some of them were for, they were offshoots everywhere. They all had different parts of the narrative in it. So that way, when you got to Kingdom Hearts 3, I know the beginning of it kind of starts you off on like, here's the story so far, and they try to catch you up, but it's so much.
And now, Nick, I feel like as aside from Pokemon, I wasn't into it as much until really you drew me to Zelda. And I played Ocarina of Time at Jesse's house because he had it for the N64, and his sister played it nonstop. He had the gold-plated Ocarina of Time cartridge, and we would constantly be watching, her play it. And then I got the GameCube, and that's when they released that 4 set with the Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and the 2 other Zelda games.
Yeah, it came with the Wind
Did
Waker.
you have that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I did.
I know.
It came with my GameCube because you had the earlier GameCube, right? You had the purple one.
I had the first GameCube. Yeah, you had the black GameCube
Yeah.
that came with that.
I would call you guys up, Jesse, and be like, "Yo, how do I beat? Like, how do I get through this temple or like whatever?" Because you guys have already done it on the N64, so you like translated it to me, and so I would play that. But then the Zelda game that really got me was Twilight Princess.
Oh yeah.
But I never owned Twilight Princess. And here's what happened. Back when you can rent video games at like a Blockbuster and a movie gallery, I would go to movie gallery in town, pick up Twilight Princess. It was like $3 for 7 days. It was insane. And I'd bring it home, and I'd play it. And I got to a point at the end of the game. This is just as disheartening as Jesse and I's experience with X-Men Legends 2. I got to a point where there was a massive glitch, and I couldn't do anything about it.
I tried to look into any glitch history of it. Could not find anything, but if anybody knows,
just me.
It's just Brian's luck. It was
just on the Wii.
It was around Snow Point Temple.
It was probably the Wii's problem. It probably ran great on a GameCube.
I'm seeing a common denominator here. I think Brian is the issue. Had Brian faulted on the X-Men Legends? Had Brian faulted on the Zelda?
I think, every game it fails, it's me. Because you want to know another story? I was playing back on the GameCube. They had Spawn Armageddon. I don't know if you guys ever played Spawn Armageddon with me, but I got to the very end of the game. We were in
Hell.
I don't even know what I had all the no. We were right before Hell.
Oh,
we were
just
in
before.
We were in space.
Yeah.
Right. There was a point where you had to go to a door, and like there was a point where something was supposed to happen, a cutscene. I got to a door and nothing was happening, so I kept walking around this space station. And there was nothing else for me to do. Every task I had to do led me to this door, and nothing happened. And I could never beat the game. I got so close, and I could never beat it. So I think it is me.
I've never had a game-breaking bug in my life, and you've got 3 just in the last hour.
I've done the missing number glitch in Pokemon way too many times, and nothing bad has happened. But Brian can't finish games.
I can't finish a game. Son of a bee. Listen, I did that missing number glitch so many times too, so I think it's just my luck. But Ian, I feel like coming back full circle to how my relationship with Nick's video games with Pokemon, you dipped out in Pokemon Silver, but I reeled you back in recently because you have a Nintendo Switch, and I was like, yo, you have to, because I was like, I could get you in because it's back to Pokemon Red and Blue, and I was like, you have to play Let's Go because it's one of the most enjoyable Pokemon games I've ever played. And you bought it.
I loved it. Yeah, that's the one that I'll keep playing Pokemon Red again and again until they I don't know, can't play anymore. Like at least the first half of the game. Like I would play it on emulators, and eventually, you get back to playing it on Let's Go. And
because I've been dogging Nick for years now because he says he's been trying to get a Switch for 3 years now, and it's finally going to happen because next Friday, Tears of the Kingdom comes out. And this kid is ready.
It's the time.
And he waited long enough where they released a limited edition Zelda Switch. Yep. And he's like, okay, my time has come. Mm-hmm. But I told him, Let's Go, Eevee or Pikachu, whatever one you want. That's the one you got to play if you're ever going to, get your 5 or 6 games that you're going to play.
Exactly. That's definitely going to be one of the staple games on there. Because I feel like, like you said, Ian, like going back to Red and Blue or Yellow, whatever one, it's so easy to go back to those. Yeah, they're slow, they're clunky, but like the nostalgia of it is just so pure.
It's like coming home.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So seeing it kind of refreshed for a new generation, a new console, I think that's and done really, really well. I think that's a winner for me.
Me and Nick have talked about this a lot, but the Pokemon games have really dogged off in the last couple of years because Game Freak doesn't care. But I feel like Let's Go is the most perfect put together game in years. And every single 150 Pokemon have their own animations. They can follow you, everything. It was done with care because it's the first generation. They had to do it right. We'll hit you, Ian, first. What are your 3 most influential games, starting from childhood, that really kickstarted your life into video games?
Yeah, so, I mean, the first one that I can think of there is Tony Hawk. Like, not only just in playing games, but even like I was at that age where it became like it was more than just a game. Like, I wanted to go out and actually skateboard. I was going to wear skateboard shoes, skateboard clothes. Like that's what I would talk about at school. It was like, it became more than just a game, and it just became like kind of everything, an overarching aspect of your life. Even like to this day, like if I, like I, when they came out with the remasters, I got to hop back on there. I got to buy it. I mean, you don't need it just on the Xbox, you need it on the Switch too, because
you gotta have it on handheld.
You gotta have it everywhere. I mean, it's got that hook, and it's like you never left it. And
but they did the remaster so well too.
It was just such a great job. Like it's same idea as the Pokemon remaster, where they put so much effort into not just like bringing it up to current standards and making sure they paid attention to all the stuff you did before. And it was just that one thing that like I could play by myself all the time, but also it was like the thing that I would play with my neighbors or my buddies and like, or with you guys, and we would just like jam on it for hours. And it was that one that kind of got you hooked in. So that would be the first one. And then, I mean, there's been a lot of games that I played a lot, like Pokemon, Smash Bros, all those ones. I think I had to pick another. It would actually be a random Star Wars game for the computer. All my friends were into it. It was Star Wars Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast, it was called. And you played as like this, basically Han Solo meets Luke Skywalker sort of character. It wasn't just that the game was really good, but it got me into like trying to like mod the game myself, because I thought that I was all of a sudden a hacking expert, and you could like, it was like, if you get this file, you can put it in and you'll be able to like change this character. And like 90% of the time, nothing worked at all. But every once in a while it would actually work. And then it would make me want to like keep playing around with it more. So it wasn't just about playing the game itself. It was like trying to actually like learn a little tiny bit of how the real world part of it worked, which was pretty cool. It just came out at like the right time where I was either going to start losing interest in Star Wars because there wasn't any movies, or I was going to like double down and be super interested. And so thanks for that, Jedi Outcast. Now I'm super invested in that. And then, yeah, I guess if I had to pick a third one, I don't know which Halo, but probably number 2 or 3. Cause yeah, it just was that one that you just played all the time. Like between playing like multiplayer or doing some firefight and then playing the co-op, like it just, I don't know, I just wanted to play it all the time.
Because Halo, I find, is the sole reason you kept getting Xbox.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I probably would have switched to PlayStation a while ago. So if you want to blame anybody, then you can blame Microsoft for that one, not me. But yeah, even when they come out and they're disappointing, it's still Halo.
But that new one though, that hit hard for you, didn't it?
Yeah, because it was a return to form. As far as like, there may be a lot of conflicting interests, but as far as I'm concerned, the multiplayer is exactly what I wanted from it, and the campaign was exactly what I wanted.
Now, Jesse, what would you say your 3 most influential games were?
I think number one, it has to be Smash. Just has to be, because, a part of that was you play it with friends. You get that, oh, I beat him this time. Oh, he beat me that time. Oh, you get some strategy going. And it was just fun. And just the way that it also developed over the years was really great, because it kind of prolonged its life. With Melee was probably my first real exposure to it. I know that I played the N64 version growing up, but my memory of it probably wasn't as prominent as it was with the Melee. And then, Brawl comes out, updates everything, adds new things, so that effort and of giving it new life every, 8 years, however, much time was in between those. That's what prolonged that, our interactions with it, tournaments we had, like there's so many, fun things you can develop through that. The second one would also have to be Kingdom Hearts. It would just have to be, because it was kind of, I think growing up, I was piggybacking a lot on what I was seeing other people play. And, same with you, like you go to rental stores, you get, one game every once in a while and you try it out. But the one that you first buy and that you play, I think that one for me was Kingdom Hearts. So that's the one, that I go through, going, by myself, it's mine, it's kind of like, my thing. So that's the one I was like, oh, I kind of grew up with that one a little bit.
Because I didn't know about it until you told me about it. Like, yeah. You introduced me to that, right?
I think so. Yeah. I'm not sure how I found it. I have no idea.
Yeah, because you brought the game over. You're like, yo, I got this new game. And I think it was Kingdom Hearts 2. And I was like, oh, what is this? And you're like, oh, I played the first one. I can't wait to play this one. So yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts for you was your discovery, right? This
Yeah.
was your game that no one else knew about.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people knew that. Yeah.
In Arsenal, yeah.
Yeah. But the third one is kind of split between two, and that's actually kind of shared. The first one would be Halo because it was with Ian, and that was a big one. We would play that. We'd be online with each other. We'd play that together constantly. And then another one is Final Fantasy X. That one I played with my dad because my dad, he is kind of a gamer. Like he also loves Halo. Ian also sucked him into that vortex.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll chat with me about that every once in a while. He'll just like start talking about the campaign. I'm like, oh well, I forgot that you were into that.
Yeah, it's just every once in a while something will catch him, and he'll be like, because I mean, you imagine growing up back then, computers aren't even the thing, right? And so, if you're a kid with an imagination and you love, all these different kinds of things that we loved growing up, and then you get exposed to it, it's like you're gone, bro. This is, he gets sucked in and he's gone for hours. But Final Fantasy X was one that he loved, and that's a thing. That's one of my most favorite Final Fantasies. I think they have a 10 part 1 and they have a 10 part 2. And those two Final Fantasies, those are my top ones too. Watching my dad play that one, played that one with my dad. Yeah, and then I think for a couple birthdays afterwards, they kept getting me new Final Fantasies, and I was like, 11? Who cares? What are we doing?
Yeah. So Nick, I'm going to ask you the same question. What are your 3 games that you would put as your most influential to kickstart your journey?
First one, obviously, for me is Pokemon. I'm going to say Yellow because that's just where it all started for me. Like, I wouldn't be having this conversation if I didn't play that game. That whole creativity of seeing like little pixel monsters fighting on a screen is just like, looking back at that game, it's very bare bones visually, but your brain puts so much detail into it. It creates a world that's different between people who play that game. So for me, that was essentially like the true Kickstarter for my enjoyment and love of pretty much video games in general and what they mean to everybody. Second one for me.
Is it Sonic?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a love-hate relationship with Sonic. Sonic is the greatest video game character to ever exist. I'll fight anybody and die on that hill. But his games are single-handedly the most infuriating things that I think I've ever experienced in my life. The game in particular that got me hooked on Sonic was Sonic Adventure 2 Battle for the GameCube. My aunt got it for me for Christmas. I was like, I have no idea what this is, but you see like all of the characters on the box art and they're just like posing and Sonic's doing like a cool pose. I'm like, cool, I'll play it. I didn't stop. I think I must have put in 500 plus hours playing that game as a kid. I played it a couple years ago to see if I could still remember some of the levels. I do. And that was scary to me because usually most games I'm like, it's like a fresh game to me. That one, I remember every single beat of the story. I remember my certain reactions for like jumping off of a rail or something like that. I know where like hidden chow animals are. That game was just all consuming for me. And like the chow in the chow garden, more hours into that than I care to imagine. I want that back, mind you. I want a chow garden again. If Sega, if you listen to us, give me a chow garden, please.
Maybe they did give you one in that new Sonic game that came out. Maybe it's a secret part of the game.
Imagine if nobody finds it for like 5 years.
Yeah, and you're the one who does.
I gotta buy it now when I buy my Switch.
Yeah.
And the last one, it's a sleeper, but it's Paper Mario and the 1,000-Year Door.
I knew it was gonna be Mario.
Yeah. That
It was
game,
either that or I thought it was Sunshine for you.
that was my other toss-up game. I'm a very I'm a very typical gamer. I'm not like Ian, who was able to pull out like a CD-ROM Star Wars game from the early 2000s. I don't have that. But yeah, it was either Super Mario Sunshine or Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, and I picked the Thousand Year Door because again, that was a game I sunk hours and days into. Like I had pieces of paper that I would scribble on for different recipes where you would take like two items and cook them together and make another thing. I would look up like how to find all of the badges. I loved the pacing of it. It's a very happy story, but also kind of different for a Mario game. Thousand Year Door was definitely a game that I would return to on multiple occasions, and even now, like if I get my GameCube out from storage, I'd probably play that first or second.
Between that and Sunshine, do you think you cater more to that because of the style and because you love to draw at that point, so everything looked like a sketch, and you're like, oh my god, this is something fresh?
You know what? I think so because what I was doing at that time was drawing from video game references, and Super Mario Sunshine was also all 3D, and I was like 2D exclusively because I'm not that good of an artist, but that was, I think, the cartoon aspect really kind of called to me more so.
Now, the games that I would say, this is a toss-up because I feel like there's different versions. The first one, obviously, is Super Smash Brothers. The amount of, I feel like, joy as a kid to have, my brother, Jesse, all the time, like every weekend we'd be at his house, we'd be playing some form of Smash, the amount of friends you made in school just because you were like, yo, you play Smash? It's like, yo, come down the street, we're playing, I feel like Melee, as much as the N64 game I had, Melee was the biggest influence on me, Super Smash Brothers wise, and it brought, who I became friends with. Melee is one of the reasons why the friends I had, like that was the game we all kind of played together before Brawl came out, and then it was just exploded into everyone was playing Smash at that point. So I think Super Smash Bros. Melee was the first one. The second one I would say is Spider-Man for the N64. This was also on the PlayStation, but the N64 with the red cartridge. And only because Spider-Man was my favorite character of all time and still is. But that game single-handedly made me buy every single Spider-Man game after that. And the amount of hours I played, the boss fight, the Monster Ock boss fight at the very end is still the most stressful part of any video game I've ever played in my life. I don't know if you guys even remember. It was like you were running away, so like you couldn't see the wall in front of you, and then the music was tense, and he was like running after you because Carnage had mixed with Doc Ock, and he was chasing you, and it was like a 5-minute everything. There was a countdown timer, things were about to explode. But I played that game so many times, and I still remember the cheat codes I used to get all the costumes. And there was Trouble, and then there was Turtle VR. Turtle VR, you got like every single costume you can unlock, and then like Trouble was like unlimited webbing or something. You get invincibility or something. It's like you get it just so you can unlock the black suit because that's the only suit I ever wanted to play as. And then you get like the armor suit. You walk by a cartridge and it was like spinning, so it was like a special costume in the game. But then there's like some costumes like the Ben Riley one where you can like turn invisible for a little bit. That whole game changed my life for the games that I wanted to play going forward. And the final game, like there were so many games that, me and Jesse played together, but I feel like Pokemon, every time a game comes out, I have to get it. And Pokemon Yellow was also the first game I ever played, even though I think I sunk more hours into Red, but Pokemon Yellow was the first experience I've ever had where I finally beat a game and I was like, this is like the game for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until like, I feel like Ruby for us, where that's the game I put thousands, like 300 hours in, right? But I feel like if it wasn't for Pokemon Yellow, games like Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Coliseum, XD, Gale of Darkness, Fire Red, all the spin-offs, those games wouldn't exist. Pokemon Snap, those games wouldn't exist for me if I didn't play Pokemon Yellow.
Right. Yeah, that jumping off point I think was so crucial for us. And the tie-in to the show, because we watched the show every time it was on.
Every Saturday morning.
Yeah, exactly. Going back to Spider-Man for a second there. We played it not too long ago, didn't we?
Recently,
Yeah.
yeah. When you moved in your apartment, I brought it
Yes.
over. I brought my N64 and we plugged it in.
Do you think that game? I didn't realize you have all of the Spider-Man games.
I do.
I didn't know that.
I have the N64. I have the other game that I absolutely loved was Ultimate Spider-Man for the GameCube, because you also had that game.
Yes.
And there was countless times. I think, Jesse, you also had this game for PlayStation 2.
It's possible.
It's in a bin. But yeah, there was so many. I wanted the black suit so bad. Remember, Nick? I was at your house. We were playing. And we were trying to get all the collectibles. And then we finally got them. We finally found the last one.
Yeah.
Because you could play as Venom and you were like jumping over the city. And that was the way I could find them, because I would turn the camera down as I was jumping.
Yes.
So then once I got the collectibles, I didn't unlock it because I had to beat all the races. And at that point, I gave up.
Yes. Because I remember we were like, we don't have to do those. Those are dumb.
Yeah, those are dumb. Because we were good at it, right? But then, so you have Ultimate Spider-Man, Web of Shadows. You play that for the Xbox.
Yes.
Great game. Horrible voice acting.
Mm-hmm.
Going back and looking at it. And then you had one of my favorite games of all time, Shattered Dimensions. You get to play as Ultimate Spider-Man, Josh Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
You get to play as Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man Noir, and then 2099.
Yes.
Then you had the sequel, Edge of Time. Anytime a Spider-Man game came out, I was in. A game that just came to my mind that you could play. Jesse, I don't know if you remember this game at all. I'm going to try to get the name right, but it was a Marvel fighting game. I'm not going to remember the name of it. But you were like, there was like Venom in it, and there was like other characters.
No, I'm with you.
I have to look it up. Hold on.
I'm with you.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was dark and like gruesome.
Yep. You had but you had more characters. You had like Iron Man, and then you had characters from like other comics.
It's not Marvel versus
cartoons,
Capcom.
something. No, it is a Marvel kind of
Marvel
versus.
Nemesis.
Yeah.
Nemesis. Yeah, we played that game constantly too. That was such a good game. It was different, right? Everything, all the voice acting was like so edgy, right? And like, then it was actually a fun game to play. I feel like, Jesse, you and I was like Smash Brothers, and then it transitioned to like we were playing Samurai Warriors all the time.
Yep.
X-Men Legends all the time. I was at your house every weekend. It was one of the greatest times of my life. Like, I can remember anytime, like if I were to tell a story about anybody, like I can remember practically every single time I've ever spent with you, which it sets to who I am today. And going from X-Men Legends, Ultimate Alliance, playing Smash Bros, playing Zelda, trying to, when it was for your birthday, I bought you Tomb Raider and I bought you 2K, NBA 2K15 or something, the one with Jordan on the cover, and you played that game for years.
No, that one had D Rose, Blake Griffin, and Kevin Durant on the cover, and I think it was 2K16.
But you could play as Jordan, right?
You could, yeah. And yeah, no, I played that for years because, what would happen is 2K is another franchise that just went to the shitter. It just went down. It's just so bad. Like, oh my God. But that was one of the reasons, was because they got worse. Then this one was complete, and the graphics weren't fantastic, but you could make your own character. You could make up his stats. You could put him on a team right away. Like, it was like, what else do you want to do? I don't want to grind for hours. It's ridiculous. No, just let me do 360 tomahawks. Put me right in the game, coach. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I feel like if we were to make a consensus, I feel like the overall game that we all share is Super Smash Brothers. Not to say nostalgia drives us, but I feel like in this case it does, because the games we played back in the day really were full, complete games, and developers this was the one and done. Like, they had one chance to make a game and this was it, right? So I feel like anytime we played a game, it was one of the best experiences we've ever had. And that, we have so many memories of any game we can pull off the shelf. I can tell you a story like, oh, this day we played this day we played that. And I feel like gaming, growing up in the era we did, obviously we're all different ages, but mid 90s, late 90s, early 2000s to like the 2010s, those games really brought us all together.
The people who made it put heart and soul into it. It stands a test of time when you look back on it. And yeah, it might be nostalgia. I don't care. I love it. Like I'm going to play those GameCube games, those Game Boy Advance games, like over and over when it's a rainy day and I'm not at work. But yeah, I think Smash Brothers definitely was that thing that really brought all of us together over the years.
Because like, I know you from grade school, right? But
Mm-hmm.
Jesse and Ian, they're family. So like I feel like Smash Brothers, like I wouldn't, you met them through me, but like Smash Brothers was the game we all kind of gathered around and like built a friendship upon.
Exactly. Like I wouldn't know you, Jesse, or Ian, like I do now if it wasn't for that. If we didn't have that opportunity to like all get mad at Brian for whooping us at Smash Brothers, like I wouldn't be able to talk to you right now.
Before we give our final thoughts, I just thought of two games in my head, Jesse, because mostly all my gaming and variety comes from my times with you. And I want to know if you remember the times we played Dragon Ball Z sagas.
100%. Yeah, the Dragon Ball games. I was just gonna say the Dragon Ball games. Just going back to like the idea of like DLCs and games being complete when they're put out. The Dragon Ball games are the only games, or those types of ongoing stories that are being told that are being converted into video games. Those are the only types of games that I feel like it's appropriate to have. DLC, additional content, putting out new things because new stories are being written. But when they have games that come out, oh, well, you just have to wait for the first bug fix and then it'll be good. Oh, you just have to wait for like the
Yeah.
fifth bug update and then it'll be good. It's just it's so insulting. Like it's crazy. But no, Dragon Ball, Budokai, Tenkaichi, like all those different kinds of Dragon Ball games. Like that's 100%.
So if you were to give your final thoughts on what video games growing up meant to you and your relationships that you built, what would it be, Jesse?
Before you could develop any social skills as a human, you would just sit down and play video games, with other people. Girls and guys are different. Different time periods you grow up in, it might be different. I know for us, we grew up together, same family, so you know each other that way. But you have different interests, and then you narrow those interests, and then oh well, there's this video game, or there's this video game, or there's this TV show, or there's this, and it's just another way that you can connect with people. When those games are done well, you develop new friendships, you get great memories, you get all these different things that can come from it. That's why Smash Bros is consensus number one, because the concept's so simple but it's done so well. Anybody can kind of really pick it up and just smash their fingers on it and have some success. It becomes part of your childhood. Like you said, there's that nostalgia. Nick, on a rainy day, you're going to pick it up every now and then just because that's how you grew up. That's just how you're formed. That's just what you're going to do sometimes, and, every once in a while when they put out those really good feel good games, you're like, oh yeah, this is why I started.
That to me is why I still like video games, because every once in a while there's a game that comes out and you're just like, I remember that feeling. I remember feeling excited about somebody else's creation that I could dive into for hours or days, whatever,
months, years,
months. Yeah, exactly. Pick it up 10 years later, 20 years later. What I really think about when I think about video games is I hope people enjoy them. Like, they're meant to be enjoyed. Sometimes there are some stinkers out there, but pick up a game you think might interest you and play it. If you like it, keep playing it. If you find somebody else that likes it, play it with them, talk about it, explore it. And that's what it's for. It's for us to take our mind off of the busyness of life when we're older, but it's to build our creativity when we're young, to explore different ideas, different tropes, different characters, archetypes, and see what resonates with us. Brian, like we talked about with the turtles, like, each turtle has their own archetype. People identify maybe with one of them in particular or with all four of them. Same goes for video game characters. You're meant to be put into that situation for yourself.
To close it off, you guys really hit the nail on the head there, but I just feel like video games for me was just another avenue to really dive into what I love and like what I like from cartoons and say action figures and toys that I collected. Video games was another avenue to get together with your best friend, sit on a couch really experience this stuff together. And it's not like it's a one and done. You can replay most of these games. We love to replay all the time. And there is that nostalgia, but it's also about, taking your mind off the world, right? You're escaping into something that you absolutely love and, you're excited about and you've been waiting for, and you're like, oh my God, they finally made a game for this. I can't wait to sit down and play it. Or, you call up your friend. It's like, yo, this game just came out. Let's go pick it up together. Like the amount of times Jesse and I went to go get a game, or me and you, Nick, went to go get a game. And it's just like, it's all about friendships, right? And most of the time now it's like everybody's like playing solo online, but I feel like games are really meant to be played with your friends on a couch. And that's why, again, going back to Smash Brothers, that's why it unified everybody, because it's all about the experience you get and the friendships you make as you go. So I want to thank everybody for listening. This has been the video games that made us, and this has been 2 Hours on a Sunday. I am Brian.
And I'm Nick.
Catch you guys later.